forgive me for this trap shit. Sergeant Smack making backflip. Telly Hank did with the action. With the Vato speaking Spanish. Frank Matthews, how I vanish. Poof. Came back like I'm King Tut. Gold BBS is on a beamer. When Fat Cat was 10 queens up. Ball off the profit, not the re-up. Fly like Puerto Rican Jesus. Uptown like I'm Baby Maine. Just caught a touchdown from the Bay.
But joy cometh in the morning. We live in a violent society, and we must all share in the death of Harold Lawson. I believe if Harold had have had the opportunity to have had a good job, a good education, an opportunity to know that he was loved, he would have had different companions. He would have went a different way in life. So we all must share in the death of Harold today. And we all must work.
Yo, Kay. Kay, you in there, man?
Come on, my brother, where you at? Probably gone already.
Hey.
How are you? Stacy, Shari?
I'm all right, sir. I'm all right.
I'm doing fine. How about you? Oh, I can't complain. I haven't seen you all around here lately since the funeral. Well, I've been kind of busy with work and stuff, but... Well, I hope some of that rubs off on Kane.
How you doing, Mrs. Lawson?
Oh, I'm fine, thank you.
How you doing, man?
He ain't not feeling too good right now, but you're welcome to sit down and wait for him.
Oh, we don't want to crowd you out here now.
Oh, it ain't no bother. Besides, I was just wondering if y'all two could do Mr. Lawson me a favor.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, we wondered if, since you're Kane's friend and all, if you could talk to him, you know, how his life.
Yeah, that's no problem at all. As a matter of fact, me and Sharif was talking about getting him to go up to Kansas with us.
Well, he needs to.
Calls to end gun violence are growing louder in Watts after 2 recent shootings. In the last 2 weeks, 9 people have been shot, 2 have been killed. Video posted here to the Citizen app showing the scene of a shooting at the Jordan Downs housing development Saturday night. 1 person was killed, 3 others gunned down as they were watching a sporting event.
And when they say South Central, you can't help but talk about the Jordan Downs. Because these are 3 of the biggest housing developments here in Watts.
When most people think about how a movie gets made, they picture the stars on screen, the director behind the camera, the producer funding the vision, the screenwriter shaping the world. And in most cases, they be right. That's how Hollywood works, but not with one Hollywood blockbuster, because this one wasn't filmed on a closed set in Burbank. It was shot outside one of the most dangerous housing projects in all of Los Angeles, a place where life didn't imitate art. Art was lucky to survive life. It's the kind of place where before cameras could roll, somebody had to say it was okay. Not a studio exec, not a location scout, but somebody else. Because back then, and still probably to this day, if we want to be for real, if you wanted to move through those courtyards with film crews and actors, you needed to ask for more than permission from the city for a film license. You asked the one man who ran it. He didn't wear a badge. He didn't sit in a trailer. But if you knew anything about South Los Angeles around this time, you wasn't filming anything of that magnitude at that location without his blessing. Because in the time when the city turned its back and the police wouldn't step foot inside without backup, there was one man who controlled the flow of people, product, and power. He wasn't part of a film crew, but in that neighborhood, he directed everything. The Los Angeles Times and federal authorities would go on to coin him the Godfather of Watts.
We made minutes when we were 20, and I remember thinking that was normal. It wasn't too recently I started realizing how abnormal that was. A real naive thing on our part was thinking that we can go down to the neighborhood and shoot around real Grape Street Crips, and in Jordan Downs, the housing project, and actually employ the real gangsters. We were able to shoot there because at the time there had been a peace treaty between the gangs, and we had hired a few of the guys on as technical consultants and emissaries to the neighborhood. Then there's a scene where O-Dog goes to Kane's grandparents' house after he comes back from the hospital, and everybody in that scene is from that neighborhood, and a lot of them are gangsters.
We always were watching our backs because, you know, we didn't know what was gonna happen being in that neighborhood.
Get your ass up out the car, nigga.
I'll never forget this one guy, I forget his name, but he was the scariest guy in the area. I mean, everything about him, his manner, his approach, his reputation, you would think if anybody was going to be somebody who was going to cause us problems or hurt somebody or anything, it was this guy.
Why you come to this motherfucker so early all the time, man?
Originally constructed in the early 1940s as temporary housing for war industry workers during World War II, the Jordan Downs housing projects in Watts, Los Angeles, would quickly become a symbol of shifting American urban dynamics. In the post-war era, the federal government would transform ownership to the Housing Authority of the city of Los Angeles, which would convert the complex into permanent public housing. And about 10 years later, by the mid-1950s, Jordan Downs will become home to a predominantly Latino and African American population, with many of the African Americans migrating from the South seeking work and refuge from Jim Crow oppression. And as industry would dry up and white flight would accelerate, the area would be left under-resourced and neglected. And over the following decades, residents would be grappled with poverty, overcrowding, and systematic disinvestment that would leave the complex in visible decay. And by the mid-1970s, it would be those conditions that would give rise to a new generation of street identity rooted in survival, pride, and protection. What would begin as a unified presence under the neighborhood gang known as the Watts Barrio Grape, originally composed of both Mexican and Black members, would allegedly eventually fracture along racial lines, tensions over turf, leadership, and increasing racial polarization that would lead to a deep split. The Mexican faction was alleged to have declared allegiance to the Mexican Mafia, a powerful prison-based organization that demanded racial loyalty and control over Serrano gangs in the Southern California area. After the split, the Black members were said to have splintered off to form the Grape Street Watts Crips. And as the Black population in Jordan Downs would grow and the Crip identity would take hold across South Los Angeles, the Grape Street Crips would quickly become the dominant force within the complex. Their rise would be marked not only by territorial control, but by deep involvement in the crack cocaine economy of the 1980s, violent conflicts with rivals like the Bounty Hunter Bloods, and a lasting imprint on the cultural and criminal fabric of Watts itself. The split from the Mexican faction wouldn't just reshape the local alliance, it would also signal the beginning of a volatile and racially charged era in Jordan Downs' history. And it would be out of that chaos and transformation of Jordan Downs where one family will rise to define the project's power structure for decades. Most notably, 3 of 5 brothers, Arthur, Wayne, and the youngest, Kenny Day, would emerge as central figures within Grape Street. with Kenny widely being credited as the one who first started the gang within the housing projects. But it would be his bigger brother, Wayne Honcho Day, who would take it to the next level, expanding its influence, enforcing structure, which would turn Grape Street into one of the most feared and organized Crip sets in not only Los Angeles, but probably the nation. The power wouldn't be more evident than within the mid to late 1980s, especially around 1987 or so, where the Day namesake would ring bells from Jordan Downs to Compton and far beyond. And after the younger brother Kenny would be killed at a gas station in a rival Crip neighborhood, blood would be splattered all across Compton.
On the previous episode, Reggie said you talked about some different kidnappings and some people in the city of Compton. I know of another incident that you was involved in where it was actually a guy from Watts whose brother got killed in Compton, where his brother from Watts, Grape Street Watts, the area that I grew up in, I went to elementary school till the first grade but the area that I grew up in, these guys came to Compton and caused a little bit of chaos. Would you mind speaking on those stories?
No, they caused a whole lot of chaos. He's saying a little bit of chaos, but it was on.
My youngest brother, Crow, which is, which is Grape Street.
That's Kenny Day.
Kenny Day. That's Crow. He is Grape Street. He is the father. That's his. This is his baby. This is his baby. Would he like what he see? He wouldn't be upset about it, but he wouldn't like it. He wouldn't like what it is, because that's not. He always had that unification. That's how he was. He was the last. He was the last of 5 brothers, and so he always wanted things to come together. He had done this Grape Street thing for a long time. It didn't blossom off a grape for a certain time, but he had the Grape Street thing had been going on ever since we moved on Grape. He had this. We moved on a street that was predominantly Hispanic. It was predominantly Hispanic. WVG was there when we get there. So now we make it our niche. We black on this street. We own Grape. We pour the Grape. We are Grape. We the only blacks. We're not the only blacks on there, but we the only blacks claiming this right now. So therefore, he built that.
Now, if Reggie Jr. considers alleged kidnappings, tortures, and 13 people dead across the city of Compton in 2 days a little chaos, he hit it exactly on the head. According to a 1996 Los Angeles Times profile, Wayne Honcho Day, known throughout South Central Los Angeles as Head Honcho, was regarded by law enforcement as the highest ranking member of the Grape Street Crips, a gang based in the Jordan Downs housing projects of Watts. Investigators would describe him as a charismatic and calculating figure who would oversee a vast narcotics network, while at the same time being closely tied to a family of respected community leaders. His father, Arthur Day, would run a trucking company, while his mother, Betty, was a well-known block captain and civic liaison for the LAPD's Southeastern Division. But Wayne Honcho Day would choose a different path, one that would position him as one of the most influential street figures Los Angeles has ever seen. And by 1987, Wayne Honcho Day's influence would grow far beyond Jordan Downs. During a time where blood sets rarely feuded against each other, you would have certain Crip sets pretty much at war. And it would be in that year that he would allegedly attempt to unite dozens of rival Crip sets under one banner, a move that would have most likely created the most powerful Crip alliance in Los Angeles at the time. According to Police magazine, they would organize a large gathering at Compton High School, attempting to rally hundreds of gang members under the umbrella of the Consolidated Crip Organization, or the CCO. Video evidence would later be obtained by investigators, would allegedly show Honcho orchestrating gang meetings, tutoring gang members on drive-by shootings, and speaking to Crips in a military-like formation. In one instance, he was even said to be seen on tape ordering 500 Crips to strap up and ride out, a call interpreted by authorities as a direct incitement to violence. And eventually, Honcho's growing profile didn't just attract Crip alliances. It would also draw the attention of federal authorities. And by the early 1990s, the DEA, FBI, and LAPD and multiple federal prosecutors had begun building a case against him. And on June 20th, 1996, Honcho would be arrested in Las Vegas as part of a sweeping federal indictment targeting a multi-million-dollar drug trafficking operation. Authorities would seize more than $500,000 in cash, 40 kilograms of cocaine, 5 kilograms of amphetamines, and an arsenal of weapons. Prosecutors would accuse Wayne Honcho Day of overseeing a drug ring that would extend far beyond Watts to cities like Minneapolis, all the way down to Jackson, Mississippi, using Grape Street members and associates to transport narcotics and cash across state lines. Following his arrest, Honcho would be charged under federal RICO statutes and later convicted in 1997. His sentence would deal a major blow to the leadership of the Grape Street Crips, but not to their influence. Matter of fact, the power of the Grape Street Crips would probably become more visible in the wake of internal and external losses, with one of the group's most defining moments coming in 1980 at the height of Wayne Day's street power, when his younger brother, Kenny Crow Day, would be gunned down in a gang-related shooting. Though law enforcement had long viewed Wayne as the strategic force behind Grape Street's rise, the killing of his own blood will reveal the uncontrollable nature of the streets, even for someone at the top of it like Honcho. As Police magazine would put it, Kenny Day's funeral was a huge affair. Crips would come from far away as Texas to pay their respect. The Grape Street color purple could be seen everywhere. The scene, as described by veteran gang officers, was one of an unprecedented unity and street presence, a moment that would confirm Grape Street's hold over Watts and the respect that the Day family would command. Wayne Honcho Day, despite his power and influence, was forced to grieve publicly while the city was watching. His brother's death would serve as both a personal tragedy and a gang-wide rallying cry. And even now, to this day, as Wayne Honcho Day grows older in age and has possibly transitioned out of any day-to-day operations with the Grape Street Crips, they still remain one of the most formidable and violent gangs in all of Los Angeles, with them having reach all across the city and their reputation for retaliation endured right into that next generation. And that brutal legacy would resurface in January of 2008 when a Brandon B.L. Bullard, a reputed Grape Street shot caller, would be fatally shot in the face, allegedly at the hands of rival East Coast Crips during a party at a rented event hall on Florence Avenue in South Central. The aftermath would be reminiscent to the murder of Honcho's little brother, Crow. In the 6 weeks that would follow, over 24 people would be shot, with at least 9 of them being killed. As the violence would surge through Watts and South Central, according to reports from the Los Angeles Times, the retaliations were swift, organized, and relentless. And exactly like the death of Kenny Crow Day, the streets wouldn't mourn quietly, they would bleed. Now, for those who want to hear from Honcho himself about the evolution of the Grape Street Crips, y'all can check one of the only interviews he has online on Street TV. I definitely recommend y'all checking that out. With one of the most important things I thought he talked about was how he felt about Grape Street now and the different factions, almost showing how much he was a visionary, possibly seeing that 40 years in the making back in 1987. Now, y'all make sure y'all hit the red bell and subscribe button right under this video so y'all know when this real trill spill shit is dropping. Y'all definitely flood that comment box below. Y'all let me know what cities we need to head to, what stories we need to tell, what we missed, what we got wrong, all of that. Y'all make sure y'all tapping with me directly on Instagram, Twitter, POP_A_LOT. Until the next play, y'all know we rocking. Shades Popalot. Salute the almighty mob.